Hey, welcome to Booked Live. Uh,
The hot seat.
this is the hot seat edition, which basically means we don't get to just retake things a billion times in a row or something, or someone is under extreme scrutiny, possibly. But anyway, there's two different audiences for this. So this is actually going to be an episode of the Books podcast, but it's also something that's streaming live right now through the various interwebs, YouTube, Google. YouTube. It's YouTube.
It's YouTube. We use Google Hangouts for it. But what this really means is that you get to see me blow sweet vape clouds for like 90 minutes, which is not something that you're seeing if you're listening to this later on the podcast. I think that's what Rob was getting around to.
Yeah, I wanted to differentiate. Like, if you hear us talking about, like, if I say, "Damn, Livius, that was a sweet vape cloud," it's because I can actually see Livius doing the sweet vape cloud. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, man, I want to see that particular sweet vape cloud, this will be something that's available on our YouTube channel, which I believe if you go to youtube.com/bookedpodcast, that should take you right to a handful of videos that we have available, including my world famous unboxing video for the Familiar Volume 1 by Mark Danielewski, which that's got to be up to 2,000 views by now. It is just raging across the internet. It's viral.
The best part about doing this, Rob, is that when you're big on my screen, I can see my reflection in your eyes. And that's just wow. It's how I always picture the podcast happening, but now I actually get to see it.
I thought I was the vain one, and apparently
it's your love for me, bro. It has nothing to do with vanity. We know how much you love me.
Yeah. Do you see in my eyes? Is it little hearts?
And no, it's actually just two of me, like right around here in the eye parts.
Yeah. All right. I'll take it. That's fine.
We have a couple of topics. We're probably going to hang a little bit and just shoot the shit until some people are able to get on. And if people don't get on, then we're just going to launch into a couple of things. But coming up, we will either accuse an author of stealing my ideas or determine that I actually have psychic abilities, specifically the ability to predict the future. One of those two things is going to happen tonight, and we'll let you decide. I've already decided, but we'll let you guys decide on what you think.
You can join the conversation about it. I have a little bit of a predictive ability that I demonstrated through a Facebook memory the other day. I don't know if you remember seeing that.
I did, but I'm going to let you explain it.
So Facebook does this thing where it'll say on this day, and then it shows you everything that you did on previous years, which, like, it's so dumb, but I love seeing what I was doing like a year ago, 2 years ago, 8 years ago. Like, it's always that little gamble of like, how far does it go back this time? Which is so dumb, but it's somehow super satisfying. And so the other day, I believe it was yesterday, one of my on this day events was from 2013. I was in Chicago and I took a picture, and it had the Trump Tower in Chicago in between two buildings, and I captioned it as "Can't escape Trump," and that was far before he had ever announced a candidacy for president. Mm-hmm. And now I realize just how true "Can't escape Trump" really is.
That is, I would say that maybe since we've been doing this podcast, we have developed some crazy ability to predict the future. So we'll see.
Yeah. So a little clairvoyance, a little future sight, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Looks like we have a couple of viewers. I'm not really sure how I can find out who these viewers are.
Oh, I don't see that.
At the bottom of the screen, it says it. But if you click over to YouTube, you just see what I said 45 seconds ago. So it's a terrible idea to do that.
Oh, all right.
Because I was just watching us have a conversation about something.
You may need to moderate interaction with. Hold on. Yeah, I'm worried I'm going to click on something and it's going to destroy the world.
I think I have the full control over this. I think the only thing you can do is probably kick yourself off, and I could probably bring it back in. But you should be able to use the live chat on the right-hand side of YouTube in order to communicate with us. We did learn a year ago when we did this, though, there is significant lag. So it may be like a minute or two until how did this work, Rob? There's some time travel involved. Like, we're doing this right now, but you're not seeing it for like a minute and a half until the encoding happens. It gets uploaded. We lost a viewer already. Apparently, the inner workings of YouTube are not what people tune in for. Any rate, we get those messages a lot later than you think we get them. So we'll try to get to Rob's Ask Me Anything. You can ask Rob anything, and he's going to answer it. It's in the description for the video. So,
all right, yeah, I'm totally watching you talk on YouTube. Do you want to see what you look like? You want a little inception here?
Oh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
God damn it, that's a handsome guy.
But oh hey, there's Misty saying, "Wait, is it just me?"
It might just be her. That's not showing up in the chat on here. So yeah, obviously we have some. Hopefully, what we're really hoping for is that Facebook Live will eventually give us the ability to do this, where one of us can start a call on the page, and then we'll be able to have those chats right in there. Rob, you can monitor the YouTube channel chat, I guess, on your iPad, and I'll keep an eye out on the one in here. And that's it. Rob, it looks really bright behind you. Why is it still so light out where you are?
Oh, because it's 6:36 California time here on the West Coast in California, where I'm living right now. It's only 6:36.
The countdown is on. How many days until you're back?
Oh man, that's math. September 1st is when I'm back. So today is July 20th.
So 40 days.
5 weeks. Yep. 40 days, whatever you want to call that.
Rob returns to Chicago, where I'll see him just as much as I've seen him while he was in California. Maybe more, because we're actually doing a video thing right now.
So you're saying that like me coming back means I'll see you less?
Probably.
Is that your future predictions?
That's more prognosticating happening right there.
We have a follow-up comment from Misty from a couple minutes ago that says, ha, 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 ha. I think it's about us noticing that Misty's the only one on the call. So
could be. I don't know if they're counting you as a viewer, because you're on too, I guess. So it might be just Misty, which, you know what, quite honestly is perfectly fine. We are killing two birds with one stone. We are fulfilling our promise to do a booked live, and this is this week's booked. Yeah. So that's it. Rob, I have been listening to some episodes from October of 2015.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, the podcast hasn't changed a bunch in almost 2 years.
Oh, that sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like maybe
we might as well have recorded that last week. I'm setting people up for the all-important reveal, what I discovered this week. But like I said, I'm going to give people a few more minutes to get on.
So let's talk about, like, something inspired you at some point to just go back and listen to or do you just do this all the time where you listen to old episodes of the podcast?
No, it's related to my prognostication. That's so all right. I'm just gonna go ahead and we have a third viewer, so I might as well go ahead and explain it now.
Yeah, bring it on. Oh, yeah, I thought I was trying to set you up for a little bit of like you explain what brought you to the point where so
Edgar Cantero wrote what was that book called?
Supernatural Enhancements.
Supernatural Enhancements that we reviewed back in 2015. And it was the first of our October episodes. At any rate, it was during horror month, so we reviewed it, and we liked it. But so he has a new book that just came out called Meddling Kids, and this came out, I think it was last week. And I saw the name. I'm like, oh, that looks familiar. That's right. We reviewed something by him. I kind of remember liking that book. I'm still reading stuff for the Lazy Summer podcasting, so I'm going to go ahead and look into this book. Then I decided, hey, why don't I go back, just listen to the review and see what I really thought of his book. So let me tell you what Meddling Kids is. It is a unapologetically, unapologetic, I don't want to say ripoff. It's a story about 4 kids and a dog that solve mysteries. Now, I think this is exactly what he's trying to do. I don't think he's trying to hide it, but he couldn't get, the rights for Scooby-Doo. But they're in their 20s, and they have all suffered emotionally, mentally, from some of the crimes that they solved. So they were kind of super popular and getting written up in the newspaper when they were kids. They moved on, they solved this one big case, they moved on with their lives, but all of them have faced some challenges relating to their experiences. And I go, oh, this sounds kind of interesting. I'm going to go back and listen to the Supernatural Enhancements review.
This is where it's getting good.
12 minutes in to that review, we're talking about the house and how there's, like all these crusty old white guys keep showing up and this and that. And I said something along the lines of, I'm reading this kind of feels like I'm reading a Scooby-Doo mystery. And I even say at one point, if it wasn't for you meddling kids. Now, you might say, well, all right, so you said it, maybe that's kind of his style or whatever. He probably didn't even hear that. Here's where you'd be wrong. I don't realize that while listening to that episode, but because I listen to Stitcher, it just goes to the next episode sequentially. It doesn't matter what the time frame is. So I listened to the following episode in which Rob informs me that we received a tweet from Edgar Cantero thanking us for reviewing his book and for the kind words we said, which would imply what, Rob?
Oh, he listened to the episode.
He listened to the episode in which I said, this reminds me of a Scooby-Doo mystery, and where I even gave him the title, or from where he may have taken the title. I don't know this to be true or not. Meddling Kids for his next book. Is it me predicting the future? Or is it a little bit of Livius had a good idea and someone capitalized on it?
Here's my question.
Yes.
And this is really going to be kind of like the defining moment for which direction this goes in. Did you look to see, or did you do any investigation, or is there any information about when he wrote the story? Because if you wrote it before October of 2015, then this
is a good question. I have done no investigation.
I mean, and my suspicion would be if he did write it before October of 2015, that means that you even have a bigger superpower because you implanted your thought went back in time and implanted in his mind before you even said it.
Well, okay, so then it could just be a psychic ability where I could like read his mind and know what he had been doing, even though I haven't met the guy. I did also say, and I kind of felt bad. I don't know if I remembered this at the time, but so I listened to the episodes back to back. So I had no real reason to remember this a week afterwards when you told me that he had listened to the episode. I said, yeah, I looked at pictures. Guy, he's got like the douchiest haircut. So Rob suggested I look him up now and see if there is still a douchey haircut. So Rob's going to talk for a minute. I'm going to try to figure out screen sharing.
See, and here's the thing that I'm noticing just from the conversation right now is that I'm all about like digging in and finding more proof one way or another. I need to know, does he still have a douchey haircut? Because then if he doesn't have a douchey haircut, Livius's advice was sound and he went and got a better haircut, but I need the proof. And now with the book, The Meddling Kids, going to need some proof about, if there's any kind of indication. So we might need to go back to interviews or, his Twitter account or something like that to see if we can find anything of substance that says, oh man, this is a story I've been working on for like a decade. I love Scooby-Doo so much. Or it came to me one early November 2015 morning. Also, I'm ready to go right into a lawsuit if you think that that's the right thing to do.
Now, are you talking about, oh, look at this. This is interesting when you do this and you screen share like that. So I think you guys can see, do you see a bunch of pictures of a guy right now?
Yeah.
So I know this is the picture I was referring to previously.
Yeah. Yep.
For some reason, I'm hovering over. It won't get any bigger. And then I have to imagine he looks a little older here. So I think he may have also taken my advice about the hair.
All right.
Maybe? No,
I agree with you. I'm looking at the other one. I'm noticing that Lit Reactor did a quick review of the supernatural enhancements, and I'm guessing that was after we talked about it.
Here is the cover for Meddling Kids. You may notice that doesn't look that unfamiliar. It's got a dog and it's got the kind of goofy font. And
yeah,
I've read 20% of it, and so far so good. I mean, I'm enjoying the book, so I'm not slighting the book. I'm just saying that I haven't flipped to the acknowledgments or whatever yet. I'm just wondering if I'm going to find my name in there.
That would be awesome. Thanks to Livius Nedden for inspiring my career of ripping off intellectual property.
All I know is either that I am a genius who has provided somebody with an idea, that they saw it to fruition and hopefully made some money on, or I can tell the goddamn future.
I'm happy either way. I mean,
Yeah.
like, neither of those are a negative outcome. Like, either you have such good ideas that people benefit from them, or fucking. Now, I'm a little bit concerned if you have like mental powers though, because like he's like, you're sitting there and you're like, that motherfucker thinks I'm an asshole or something like that. He doesn't think that vape cloud was good at all.
I'm gonna blow a lot of sweet vape clouds for you, buddy.
I'm gonna drink some beer for you.
What kind of beer are you drinking, Rob?
Let me finish this pour. This is Beechwood Brewing. It's called Mocha Machine.
Now that's pretty local to where you're at now, if I remember correctly, right?
Local-ish. So it's an Imperial Coffee Chocolate Porter. And it's from Beechwood Brewing, which is in Long Beach, California. So down by LA and up in the South Bay area. So it'd be about a 6-hour drive, but it's way shorter than like the 36-hour drive it would have been if I were back in Illinois.
That's very true. I know you didn't ask. Here it is. Gallo Family Sweet Peach. This, look at that. You see that? It's a twist off.
Metal twist off cap.
Yeah, that doesn't even have a cork, but this stuff is delicious. I could probably drink like 4 bottles of this before I'm, too inebriated to drive anywhere. But I'm not driving anywhere tonight. I'm spending my evening with you, buddy.
I appreciate that. That makes me happy.
More book-related news. We did find out a slight correction. We talked during the last episode or 2 episodes ago about Rob Hart and the Woman from Prague being the last book in that series. Not correct, because he finished the last book in that series definitively, what he referred to as the last book in that series, today on an airplane flight. So I guess there are 2 more Ash McKenna novels that we haven't read. There will be 1 more for anybody who's a fan of, who's currently reading The Woman from Prague. So that's cool.
Which is in the Czech Republic.
It is. It is in the Czech Republic. It's gonna be interesting. I kind of want to talk to Rob a little bit, probably closer to production time on that book, about ending a series that he's written now 5 books. I know we've talked to other people who have ended series. We talked to F. Paul Wilson about it, but
I was just about to bring that up because I have a thought about that. But continue.
Oh, okay. It'd be interesting to get someone's take on your attachment to the character and then making the decision to let it go, and after, because by the time we read the book, he's finished the story now. It's probably going to be 6 months of revisions and stuff before it's actually published. So they have some time away from the end of the story, from him ending the story, to kind of get his take on Ash McKenna and how he feels about the end.
So, my thought is another little bit of Livius maybe mentally influencing other people was after talking to F. Paul Wilson, and basically like the line of questioning, and you can find this on the interview, was about how difficult it must be, and then like really kind of they had this moment where you could tell Wilson was kind of, Livius took him back, and they were both kind of loving like everything about the what's the series? I'm sorry.
Repairman Jack.
Repairman Jack. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to say the wrong thing. They were in this moment, like it was like they were back in time, and then it was like the good old days again. And Livius is wiping the tears from his eyes. And what happened? What happened after that, Livius? We have a follow up to that interview, which I don't think that we've covered on the podcast, but you showed me through like a screenshot.
Mm-hmm. Totally not prepared for this, or I would have that screenshot for people to see. But F. Paul Wilson has decided that he has another Repairman Jack story that he thinks he would like to tell. Now, a la Stephen King in The Dark Tower, this would take place inside the existing Repairman Jack stories. I don't remember where he said, but I think it's between like maybe books 8 and 9 or 9 and 10, but getting towards the latter part of the series. But a story that takes place that will not further the story at its end, but will maybe fill in some holes, or at least provide some fan service for Repairman Jack fans.
That's I mean, and I wonder how much that I wonder how much of that has to do with like if he's kind of shelved that character and moved on and been busy with other things, and obviously had a career where he had a bunch of different stories that didn't have to do with that series, like how much of that, desire to go back comes from like feedback from the fans? Like, did you kind of stir up in him a nostalgia that he just couldn't let go, or was it always kind of lingering there and this just happened to be the right time?
I mean, he was working with / on Repairman Jack for the better part of like 20 years. So I know, we talked about Rob Hart, and the first Ash McKenna book came out, what, 2 years ago? I mean, they've been being released pretty quickly. Just imagine spending 20 years writing a character over the course of whatever, if it was like 15 full-length novels, then he had some shorts, then he had those really early young Jack year ones. So he's got like 20 books out. I have to imagine that there's a little bit of tugging at him too, where he wakes up thinking about Repairman Jack and or a Repairman Jack story. I'm sure that having fans talk to him about it, I'm certain I'm not the only one. It probably helped.
Incoming from the chat on YouTube, Misty Bennett says, by the way, loving that summer color on Livius. To which I respond, hey, Misty, he's not the only one.
That's right.
Because I get that shit on my wrist. There we go. We match.
I am nothing if not a fashionista, Misty. I know you know this about me, but in case listeners don't, people haven't seen me in person, I am always at the height of fashion.
I mean, you wear clothes.
I listen, and you know what? That's what people would prefer to see me in, clothes. So yeah. I do what needs to be done. Rob, on the other hand, is almost always dressed like he's going to a funeral.
I mean, I have a lot of dark colors. But
you have all the dark colors.
I'm kind of half in a closet right now, so I'm looking at the shirts that I have hanging up. I see a blue shirt, and I see a red shirt.
Do they have Apple logos on them?
No.
Okay.
Neither of them do. Okay.
All right.
I feel like, since we were talking about, back to Misty. Overwhelmed by handsome, so much summer. I really don't know exactly what that means, but we're going to go with it. And Comrade Chrome, who I think we know under a different name, mentioned that Livius, since we're talking about you in fashion, you rock that sweet phone holster too. Can we, you're muted, by the way, I think, but can we get some phone holster action?
All right, hold on.
I just want to get you like crotch level with the camera. Oh, look at that.
This is brand new. The outside part, brand new, because I broke the other one. But watch this, guys. Watch this. Watch this. Hold on. It's like a YouTube demo video for like how to use a sweet phone holster.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Not surprising. No case even.
That just scares me, having no case. Frightening. Terribly frightening.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a holster man.
Yeah, well, so. Not all of us can be, Rob. Not all of us can be. You and I had a conversation about how the next iteration of the iPhone, if it's side to side, the case might be. I did find somebody that had a Samsung S8. Totally unrelated to this podcast. It just clips at the top, which is kind of what we talked about. Yeah. So you can still have a case on.
That makes sense.
The case would not come up the sides. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So. Comrade Chrome goes on to say that shit's tactical.
Yeah,
that's talking about your holster.
Yeah, honestly, so it's not a fashion statement for me, but it is. The phone is always at the ready.
What's to do what?
To be used. I don't do. Listen, first of all, I wear slacks to work. Cell phones and Slack pockets.
I think it's Slacks pockets.
Slacks pockets don't do well. Your phone usually ends up on the ground. So if you have jeans, the pockets are cut different, and it's a little bit different. Plus, when phones got, I've always worn a holster, but as phones got bigger, the chance of it going in my pocket was slimmer and slimmer. So,
so if I were wearing like some slacks, it would be like the shit would get old with putting my phone in my pocket.
It would be more likely to fall out of your slacks when you sit down.
Oh, like if I sat down or something?
Yeah.
I saw a commercial for some, I want to say like basketball shorts or something that are designed specifically to address that issue, where if you sit down, shit falls out of your pockets, and the pockets are either the pockets zip, which I mean, like, come on, anybody could have figured out that solution, or they're designed in a way where like the mode of ingress for your stuff, or I guess egress in this situation would be in a way that doesn't get fucked up when you're sitting down.
Yeah, like gym short pockets are cut very similarly to slack pockets. They're
yeah.
This has got to be fascinating for riveting for the viewers.
Welcome to the fashion episode.
Jean pockets are this way. Slacks pockets are this way. Is really the easiest way. Like when I'm in a car wearing a seatbelt and I'm wearing jeans, it's really hard for me to like get my credit card out to pay for stuff like with a seatbelt on. With slacks, it's easier because like the seatbelt just hits at a completely different angle.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about that. By the way, Comrade Chrome, our homie from the Long Beach area, will appreciate what I'm drinking.
I figured if someone was going to pick up my phone holster, that might be it. Hold on a second. This is a very satisfying sound you're about to hear.
I mean, it looks... I love it so much. Frank Edler joins the call. Saying hi sellers, and then he says fellers. So I'm wondering if he thinks we're selling things and we're like, or if he just missed, there was a typo.
He may have already had way too much Gallo family sweet peach.
Yeah.
So brought to you by the Gallo family.
Hey, I bet you that's a California winery. I could probably meet up with the Gallo family while I'm out here. Comrade Chrome says LB represent, more on the way. Oh, I think I might get some good beers soon.
Very nice. I really enjoyed my time in Long Beach. Those of you who were in Long Beach with me, I had a lot of fun.
Are you saying we're gonna go back there?
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I'm less likely to say no. Modesto, California is where this fine wine.
Oh shit, where's Modesto?
And I'm actually surprised. This is 9% alcohol. I figured this was like 5 or 5.5. 9%.
9%. Hey, me too. Hang on, I think my beer beats your wine. 9.2%. Boom.
Mine probably has the same amount of bubbles that yours does, though.
Is that a measure that? Hey, I'm 2 hours away from Modesto.
If you're ever there, give the Gallo family my love.
Yeah, Ernest and Julio. I'd say both. Isn't that where the Gallo family?
Very good. Very good, Rob.
Dude, when I was 18, I ran a liquor department of a grocery store.
Was it at Osco?
It was at Osco in Lake Zurich, Illinois.
So you could run it, but you couldn't actually sell it, right? Because you've had to be 21 to actually bring up liquor. That's kind of weird.
I could order it and stock it, but I was not allowed to sell it because I was underage.
So fucking weird.
Yeah. So we were being by Comrade Chrome. He's saying, "Don't go to Modesto." We'll be reminded of Southern Indiana. Oh, and Frank Edler is enjoying a Goose Island Kolsch. We all make mistakes.
Oh, did you just call him out on the kind of beer he's drinking?
But I mean, A, Chicago represent because of Goose Island. B, he drinks the bad beers. That's the whole thing on his Books, Beer, and Bullshit podcast.
Yeah, I know this isn't supposed to be Ask Me Anything for Frank Edler, but Frank, what are the chances of us hearing another Books, Beer, and Bullshit anytime soon?
When was the last Books, Beer, and Bullshit episode posted?
I don't know. Let's take a look.
I'm going to go to my podcast app. This is what happens behind the scenes when we're recording. Wait, is it even on? If it's not on...
Looks like October 2016.
What?
October 25th, 2016.
That's like the anniversary of you telling Edgar Quintero that he had a douchey haircut.
It is pretty much that anniversary. So
that's Frank Edler, man. He's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to make this other Bazong podcast. And now I don't have to worry about talking about books and beer anymore. Because I'm going to be talking about Bazongs, all the bizzes and all the ongs.
Listen, we have left one podcast. I mean, we were on Crime Wave. I know it wasn't our podcast, but we did Crime Wave for a while. And I mean, I did it just stop? Is there no more Crime Wave at all? I haven't looked, but
I I don't know. I believe that something has happened since we stopped hosting it. It was just one of those kind of like we kind of ghosted on each other, like Seth Horowitz and on one side and us on the other side, just like kind of both just kind of naturally drifted away.
You know what's nice? This also happened with Nora at the Bar Chicago. And you're right. This is beautiful because there were no awkward conversations to have on anyone's part. Nobody had to be like, we don't want to do this anymore. And people have to say, like, we don't want you to do this anymore. It just very quietly dies off.
Yeah, just naturally, like,
Mhm.
like you realize that you're not in love anymore. It's the perfect breakup. Like, it's something that never happens in real life because, like, we don't have to make that eye contact over the internet. It's just.
I wonder if I could just stop watching Twin Peaks and just not show up for the view. I wonder if that's a possibility. Is that that's not a possibility?
No, that fuck you, man. That podcast was like 100% your idea. Twin Peaks was your idea. Every goddamn piece of that podcast was your idea.
And you know what? The Twin Peaks part's the part that's hurting. I mean, it was, listen, you want to talk about bad decisions. Tackling 20, 30 episodes and a movie before we got to the reason we were doing that, which was this one 18 episode season, was probably like you should have reined me in a little bit there. You should have kind of said, nah, I'm not sure this is the right thing.
Dude, who are you talking to? Like you're like, hey Rob, we should read this book. And before I don't even think, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I know.
So when you're like, hey Rob, we should do this podcast, I'm like, all right. And I love Twin Peaks. You're the one that doesn't like Twin Peaks. I'm fucking enjoying the hell out of this. By the way, Frank Edler says, listen to Bazong, which I'm interpreting this as no more books, beer, and bullshit.
I'm going to take a stab at that. There wasn't even a conversation, but him and Jeff just like stopped, just like we were talking about. It was probably like a real nice.
Kind of floated away from each other.
Hey, Fat and A. That's what happened to Fat and A, other friends of ours, and it happens. Yeah. Well, Fat and A still posts on Facebook. As recently as today.
That's highly suspect behavior, by the way. For you can't post as a podcast without podcasting.
It was an ad for selling golden shovels. Does that mean anything to you? I don't know. So.
Yeah, because I watch Twin Peaks. Frank Edler says, I remain in awe of your ability to schedule your lives around Booked Weekly. This was impossible with BBBS.
I mean, that's fair. I don't even think it's a big deal anymore. And I'm not trying to say that like, but people are like, you guys done this every week for 6 years. And I'm like, yeah, I think we've skipped like maybe 3 weeks in that 6 years. Maybe. So sometimes it was 10 days between episodes. I'm not going to say it was like clockwork, like 7 days all the time. But
here's, I mean, like Libya's, when people ask you how often or how you read as much as you do, and you kind of broke it down at one point explaining to people like an hour a day, right?
I mean, really what it comes down to is I know how much time I have to finish a book. I look at the page count. I just plan for a page a minute. And then I schedule, I just try to like plan it out in my head. Like, okay, 45 minutes for, the 4 days I'm working. And then my day off, I put in 2 hours or whatever. And that's going to get me the whole book done or something along those lines, pretty much.
So here's my thought. How many hours are in a week? Should I ask Siri?
You should, but I'm guessing it's like 166.
168 hours.
And how many hours does it take to do our podcast? Like, if we weren't like reading a book, if we were just doing the podcast part of it, how long?
2 hours for you, 1 hour for me.
All right. So let's say, just to be generous, it takes 3 hours. That's almost 2% of a week.
It's more than I thought it was.
If you could think about like taking 2% of your time and putting it towards something, I mean, it's really, what I'm getting at is it's not that difficult. Like, it's not a huge commitment of time, but I think what it comes down to is like, what's the priority in your life? So if other things take bigger priority, or if you have 2 podcasts and suddenly you're like, wait, this is 4% of my week, you might choose one over the other.
And I know Frank, outside of, a little bit of contact here and there, like we've talked online, I know he has a family and he has a job, we have jobs, but he has a family, he's got children and stuff. Yeah. But you say priority, and this is not to slam anybody. It's really not to slam anybody else. I turn down shit I say things like, nope, got to do a podcast. Nope, got to finish reading this book. And I turn down, and I don't say like they're cool offers or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like,
Trump's like, you
hey,
want to
how
come
about
see
Tuesday?
the White House?
Yeah. They're like, hey, how about Tuesday? I'm like, got to record a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, that's my, and when I have things that I'm responsible for, I'm just very much like that too. I say, this is when I'm going to do it. My plan is to take the steps to get it done by that particular day. Does that happen all the time? Yeah, all the time, pretty much. I mean, like 95% of the time, I'm able to do exactly that.
Yeah.
Book has always been very important to me since, all right, not always. It's like episode 7 or 8. I think it's probably when it started being like important. So,
yeah, I agree. Like, and for me, and we have like this touchy-feely story and all that kind of stuff about why book matters to us. But I'll take Livius's kind of point about turning things down for the podcast. I'm going to turn it a little bit in the other direction. I do the same thing where I turn things down for the podcast, but it's more like an excuse to say no to things that I really just don't want to do anyway, which is kind of nice. But going back to the comments, Frank says there are already double the number of Bazong episodes than BBBS. So ... I guess what he's getting at is he's still putting out content, which is really kind of the important thing.
I think what he's trying to say is it was the co-host that was the issue.
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in his mouth.
I mean,
that's what it sounds like to me.
That's exactly what you're doing.
I'm gonna go retro. Hold on a second, because you said, we were talking about. I guess I said about when it became important to me. I can pinpoint to the week, I should say, because I'm not sure exactly when this happened, but
I already know what you're going to say, but please continue.
Hold on a second. I'd love to hear this one.
Oh, wait. So wait. Finish your thought though, because I want to make sure I'm thinking of what you're thinking.
I have an episode. I am looking at the date that we posted an episode. Now I don't remember how many days before that we recorded this episode, but I can tell you to the week which one it is.
It was the Neil Smith interview.
You are correct.
Yeah.
You are correct. So I can tell you that sometime during the week of June 8th, 2011, this podcast became important to me.
If it ever becomes not important to you, by the way, Comrade Chrome did comment, I'll take Liv's place when Rob moves to California permanently.
Yeah, we started with us not being in the same state. And at that time, we didn't know if you were moving back we knew you weren't going to live in Vermont, but we didn't know if you were going to be moving back to Chicago. So that's the beauty of the internet, is that we could do this from anywhere in the world. It would be rough. Like I got to give Bob Pastorella and Michael Wilson props, because there's a 6-hour time difference, and I know there's times where Pastorella's like, it's like 1 a.m. getting ready to record this interview, and I'm like, I'll be asleep for like 3 hours by the time you get around to that.
Is Wilson back in Europe now? Because I thought he was in Japan again.
Oh, I don't know how many hours. Yeah, maybe he's in Japan. It's whatever, 6-7 hours. I don't know what the. Yeah, but yeah, that's a little.
If it's Japan though, like it's like a 13-hour difference or something like that.
Which makes it even worse if you think about it, because that means it's yeah. So those guys have commitment. For Rob and I, it's the 2-hour time frame isn't too bad. It's a little early for him, and sometimes it's a little late for me because I'm an old man and I go to sleep early, and he's like getting home and doesn't always have a chance to eat before we record. But
it would really be ideal if you were in California and I was in Illinois.
Oh yeah, because you're a night owl.
Because I'm a night. Yeah, you're a morning.
Yeah.
You're old.
I was on. I edited The View. I started at 6:45 a.m. on my day off on Wednesday. And honestly, I had somewhere to be. I had somewhere to be at 11. So I don't want to say like, I had all day. Like I had to get it done and take a shower and stuff. But I woke up, I looked at the clock. It was like 6. I was like, I'm going to lay in bed for a little bit. Scrolled through Facebook, read the news, looked at like the deal of the day sites. And I was like, I should just go edit this podcast. And I had it done, I think, by 7:45.
That's insane. So, hey, since we're talking with Frank, among other people, and it's the lazy summer of podcasting, why haven't we had him on to the podcast to talk about shit? To talk about whatever the hell Bazong is?
Probably because we haven't asked him. So I think, Rob, why don't you extend a very public offer to him right now?
I think I'm going to extend an ultimatum. Motherfucker, like, you know how this works. We basically include anybody who even, expresses the most vague of interest in what's going on. So why haven't you been like, hey guys, let's do an episode together? Why not, you son of a bitch?
We'll wait patiently for his answer. No, we won't.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to have
the
Frank
delay.
on. Yeah. I'm happy to have Frank on. I don't want people to think though that that's just how it works. That everybody should immediately ask. But I've been a big fan of Frank's for a long time, so he's been a good friend of our podcast.
I really don't think we're going to get a lot of people that are like, I need to be on a podcast. There's the listener type person, and then there's like the podcaster type person, and we probably know way more listeners than podcasters. Although I really am excited about the idea of having Comrade Chrome on as a host for the podcast.
I don't know why this is happening to me. Look. You thought I was kidding about me just watching Tucker Carlson.
Oh, God damn it, man. Seriously.
Why is this happening? I was trying to get in the chat on the iPad like you were doing, and it's not working.
I mean, it's working for me just fine, but I haven't had a comment from either of those guys in like 6 minutes. So,
do you think it's because the iPad is close to a Windows machine?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's got to be it.
Are we still broadcasting? It says we're broadcasting.
6 watching right now.
Anyway, yeah, we're still looking for things to do in the Lazy Summer podcasting. I do know that we have to. Oh God, I'm halfway through this bottle. What's goddamn? Who's the guy we talked to in California? That was on that panel with us that we're gonna talk about having on. Alex Hefflich,
the guy from it's a pseudopod.
Yeah, see, I was pretending to drink so I didn't have to try to remember what it was.
Son of a bitch. Hold on, I'm doing another device just to make sure that like streaming is working for people.
Alex Hefflich, the guy from
yeah, it's working on my iPhone.
So I'll have to reach out to him. But yeah, we're gonna do a few interviews. We have a couple ideas. Rob has an idea. I don't think we're gonna roll out unless you want to crowdsource it and see if it's a good idea. Do you remember what you approached me with the other day?
Nope.
Apparently, you must have been looking for stock photos for something for work.
Oh my God, this is such a good idea. Hey, in the comments, all right, in the comments, tell us if this is a good idea, because I think this is brilliant. So for my job, one of the things that I have to do is I have to find photos to go along with training things. And so I spend a good amount of my time looking at like Adobe Stock and Shutterstock and other, stock photography websites. And sometimes the search terms turn up really confusing results. And so I thought it would be fun to take very common words and search for them and talk about the unexpected results. So you can tell us if that's a terrible idea, like calling something the hot seat, or a good idea. But in the meantime, Misty says we're still broadcasting, which is good. Comrade Chrome says if I was on, me and Rob would talk about beer and Liv would be bored out of his mind, which is very accurate. Misty likes the idea.
Can I tell you what my concern is about the idea? This is my genuine concern. Like, we'll stumble onto good Amazon reviews for something because it's not like planned. Like, we never have those pulled up ahead. Once in a while, like if you looked at something, you'd be like, this is a really crazy comment. But it's always like we wind up looking at what that person said about some socks they bought, which is the best stuff. I'm almost afraid that if we sit down to do stock photography, we won't find a goddamn thing. Like, it almost has to happen in such a way where we accidentally have to look up stock photography, and then it would probably be gold. But if we plan to do it, I think we're going to have. So
you just think that we're just going to be mining, like and not getting anything good is what you're saying. Like,
that's my fear. I mean,
so
maybe
maybe
do it for 4 hours and just edit out the good stuff, or edit in the good stuff or whatever. But yeah,
it could have been an anomaly when I searched for the word crutches on Adobe Stock, and there was like women holding up magnifying glasses to their cooch.
Yeah. I mean, technically, it's a crotch.
I mean, it is a crotch.
Did you misspell crutch?
Shit. If that's the entire, if that's the crux of our premise is me misspelling a word, that's kind of almost better in a way. But
that's true.
Let's see. Frank Edler says, "Are we going to get drunk Liv tonight?" And Misty says, "Gigi Man, I was dying laughing at the part of the mythical creatures episode. Not mystical, mythical."
It's like the
Gigi Man stuff
elements.
Yeah. So like if we had a reliable source for that type of stuff, which like either A means that we would be like super lucky with the way that we explore the internet, or B, we would have to have like some sort of internet like monkey who just like goes around and finds us funny stuff and feeds it to us so that we can have our natural reactions to it without having to go through all like the shit that isn't funny.
You know what's fucked up about that though? You talk about misspelling things, and how quickly, and they could be typos, but mostly seem like misspellings. Like I belong to, I'll give you a good example. I belong to a couple of like investment groups. So these are people who allegedly at least are throwing money at things and trying to make money. And, and again, like anything else, you can have intelligent ones and not intelligent ones. And I'll start reading like a comment thread and I'll be like, ooh, I think this person is onto something. And I'm like, oh, and they use the wrong there. So it completely discredits whatever other information they somehow, even though the rest of the information, I'm like, yeah, this is a good idea. And then I'm like, oh yeah, but they completely misspelled like the word investment. And it's like, not a typo. Like it's completely a different word. Like they use the wrong word almost for, yeah.
Here's what I will say though, that I'm going to come out as saying that education, like your degrees do not correlate to your level of like intelligence in any way at all.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I, in my retail experience, have worked with people on the entire spectrum of, I guess you would say success, but also of general intelligence. And one does not necessarily imply the other. I've talked to lawyers that are successful, people who are just borderline, like, I hate to use the word, but they're practically retarded. And the same thing with like doctors. Like if you put a doctor in front of a computer, you're almost guaranteed to get frustrated at how stupid they are. Like,
yeah, but yeah, that comes down to they're experts in their field. So we can flip that around and maybe I'm not saying I really don't feel this way, but like mechanics, for example, are not typically thought of as like super intelligent people.
That's so racist.
But they know a ton about how to get your car running and running the right way, even if maybe they don't spell things so well, or maybe they don't understand concepts that somebody who is maybe had more schooling or just more interest. Like, yeah, I had some college, but I read up on a lot of shit that interests me, like a lot, so I'm well versed in some topics that I didn't learn in school that some other people may or may not know. And I'm not an expert in any field, to be quite frank. But I enjoy talking to people who know. Yes, to be quite frank, Edler, I enjoy talking to people who know more about me than about subjects I'm interested in, because I always think I can learn something from them. So your occupation doesn't always imply intelligence, but hopefully if you're good at your occupation, like you're a really good doctor, even if you're not really good at like basic math.
Yeah. That's, I 100% agree with you.
Computer, because I run into that myself too.
I want to just take a little bit of a pause, because now we have several people that are listening and watching. Just to remind everybody that Livius has dubbed this the Robb AMA. So I don't know what that exactly means.
Any input from Robb? Robb will answer any question that you ask him.
I will answer any question. I am not making any claims to the truth of my answer.
AAMA stands for Ask Me Anything. I also have been listening to the Halloween Spooktacular, in which I found out that not everybody understands what creepypasta is, which leads me to believe that AMA is not something that everybody understands. And I will tell you, all the anger I felt during that episode, I found again, just bubbling up with just anger.
Like re-listening to it?
Oh, God.
That's great.
I had to turn it off. The last thing I hear is me going, I could fucking hate you guys. Like, that sounds like I can't listen to this anymore because I'm just angry again.
See, now, like, I'm not going to say, I'm not victim shaming here in any way, but I feel like had you maybe been more explicit with your instructions about things, or maybe had more of a back and forth dialogue about like, hey, this is what we're talking about, or I don't know. Like, I just feel like that you could have properly.
That I asked for it, Rob? That I asked for it? Is that what you're saying? That I asked for it? I didn't ask for it, Rob.
The way you were dressed.
I just assumed, because you guys, all three of you that are on that podcast, anybody who's been on this podcast with us is younger than me. So I always assume that anybody that's younger than me has a better understanding of the internet than I do, because that's how it works.
I mean, yeah, but like you have such a weird kind of narrow, like you focus on very specific things in a way that I think that most people don't. But I mean, to your credit, we should have fucking known.
Okay.
I will say that much.
I will accept.
So-
This is I think that we're okay now. Like that's all I needed. That's all I needed to hear.
We
It's
should have
been
fucking known better.
2 years. It's
Like,
been
especially since like I've been so close with you for so long, to not understand like the basics of creepypasta means that like I was neglecting something in our relationship. I want to take it to the comments on YouTube really quick just to say Comrade Chrome is embracing the whole AMA kind of feeling by asking, is that a purple vibrator on your nightstand?
why yes it is. It's
Where
how do you even know? Oh, you're talking about Rob. Never mind.
Yeah, wait. Do you see a purple vibrator in my life somewhere?
I'm circling it on the screen, which you can't see.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that's to the right of your
Oh.
lamp.
Kind of
More like an anal tickler.
like there?
Vibrator. Yes, right there.
That is sunscreen. It is a blue bottle of sunscreen. And if anybody challenges me on that, I can walk across the room and bring it over here, but it is definitely sunscreen. Frank Edler says, is there a monetary value that could be reached to get Rob to shave the beard?
I know, Rob. There is. It's not one that anybody's willing to put up.
Here's the trick, and this is something that I've really battled myself about, and I feel like at some point it might end up being kind of along the lines of like a like abusive relationship kind of thing. A friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, is getting married at the end of August, and I'm one of the groomsmen. I'm the best man, and one of the requirements of the bride is to have a much shorter beard.
I know who you're talking about, and I don't know them well, so I don't want to say like these are people I hang out with or whatever. But really, that's weird. It's not just weird. Is this just to get you? Does she not like the beard? Like you with the beard specifically? Is that?
No, I think that the idea is like she doesn't want like somebody walking down the aisle looking like a goddamn like monster. But the restriction is really strict. It's like 1/4 of an inch of hair.
Oh, I was going to say I could see, and this is nothing against you, but I'm not under the impression that you do a lot of grooming for your beard. Am I correct? Like, I mean, you don't trim it really. You just kind of let it do its thing.
Oh, dude, I do.
So I was going to say, I mean, if you were to like, I could see her saying, hey, can you round it out or something? But did you say 1/4 inch?
Yeah. That's practically no hair. That's what you've got. Yeah.
That when it gets to 1/4 inch, I trim mine because I'm not a fucking monster. But yeah, wow. I get what you're saying. I get you.
So I'm torn because like I don't want to be the person that disrupts a wedding, even if I think that the requirement is completely insane, which I believe it is.
I as a Sagittarius and as a man, I would have to say that if I were the groom in that situation, I would have to put my foot down and say that.
God damn it. That was really good. That was really good. That was so good.
The gentleman in question and I share the same birthday.
Yeah.
Which is why I threw that out there.
So
I know
good.
Rob got it. I don't think nobody else did, unless that I'm not going to name any names. Unless that person is listening, they would also have understood.
So follow-ups here. Frank Edler says, don't underestimate a bridezilla. Comrade Chrome says, fuck that noise. I'm going to my cousin's wedding in a week with a beard to the middle of my chest. The sides are groomed though, which I'm really rocking good sides right now.
Comrade Chrome is also going to wear a tank top and sandals too to that wedding.
I would love to see him in a tank top, by the way. I've never seen that before. So Frank Edler, Rob as Kip Winger. Kip Winger?
From Winger.
From the band Winger?
Yeah. Can't get enough. I'm still hungry.
Pictures of Kip Winger.
She's only 17. Kip Winger is now a Grammy-nominated classical musician.
Here's some images of Kip Winger I found on the web.
Oh yeah, there's not a lot of beard hair there.
Did you hear what I said, Rob? Have we talked about this on the podcast? Kip Winger is now a Grammy-nominated classical musician.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah. No. Last year's Grammys, he was nominated.
Well,
but I mean, that's like the top 5 people, right? Or whatever get nominated. So I have to say, Although the pool's a little smaller than it is for, say, just like pop music or rock music or whatever. There's probably not a lot of people making new classical music.
Right, because most of the people who play classical music just play the classical music.
Yeah. I mean,
they don't compose.
Like Bach was not also nominated because he's dead.
Oh, Comrade Chrome says jeans and my only button-down shirt. That's what he's going to be wearing. Nice. I mean, perfect. I endorse that. Edler says, is there a rationale for the 1/4 inch threshold, or is it totally arbitrary? I don't know. I think
when Justin Timberlake grows a beard, that's a 1/4 inch, so that might be it.
Yeah, that could be it. It could be like, yeah, there's like those guys who just can't grow a beard, and like that's as much. So maybe she's trying to be inclusive to the people who can't have beards, like everybody feels equal. I don't know, but anyway, here's what's going to happen, and I'm going to do nothing to stop this. I'm going to have a 1/4 inch of beard hair, and the skin is going to be like there's going to be a tan. You get what I'm going at?
Yeah.
And like the skin and the 1/4 inch of beard region is going to be really white.
When was the last time you didn't have a beard? It hasn't been since I've known you, and I think we're going on 15 years now, maybe.
I've always had at least something here.
Okay.
The smallest it's gotten is probably back in like late 2000s, like 2007 or 8. Like it got pretty short for like, I remember I did one Halloween. I was Walter from The Big Lebowski, and in order to get the right beard, I had to trim things down. But yeah,
like it's so funny that you say that. I just had this conversation with somebody. The only time I've shaved my mustache, the only time ever, and it started growing when I was 14, was Halloween, and that's
Halloween. Yeah,
I was doing a face paint thing, and it wasn't happening, so I shaved, and I immediately let it grow back. So literally, there was nothing here for like a day and a half.
Comrade Chrome says, so she's Viking shaming. I think that's what it comes down to, is that she's basically Viking shaming. But here's the thing, like, I could make a big deal out of this, but it's my homie's wedding, and I just want to, I want to be a good dude for him. So
I think now I'm not a specifically a huge fan of like big beards. But here's what I would do. There's that picture you were using. Maybe no, it's not. I would say it's not on Gmail. You were using as your Facebook profile picture for a while. You were rocking that vest.
Yeah, dude.
I would submit that photo and be like, because you've never looked better, in my opinion.
That was, the panties around the world were all dropping simultaneously when that photo was taken. I agree, and I did have a much smaller beard then.
Yeah, but much being like relative term. Wasn't a 1/4 inch.
It was more than a 1/4 inch. And then the only other possibility that I've entertained is that she doesn't want me sleeping with the bridesmaids, and so she wants me to have a shitty beard so that they're less likely to want to have sex with me.
So why is she cock blocking you? That's weird.
I don't know. You would think that she'd want to be guiding my cock. I don't know what the opposite of cock blocking is.
I'm pretty sure it's not whatever you just said.
Who knows? How did we get on this? I don't even know. You're muted again. How did you get muted?
The Ask Me Anything is going fucking wonderfully. That's how we got on this.
That's right. So yeah. Oh, because Frank Edler asked. So basically, Frank, I guess the answer, if we want to circle back to the original question, is like the cost is my devotion to you as a friend. Because really, like, I'm actually putting out a lot of money to be in this wedding.
Yeah. I'll explain this. So Rob had this wonderful opportunity to spend this time in California for his work and advance his career a little bit, and just live in California on somebody else's dime, basically. But because of the podcast, he had to choose. He could either be back in time for this wedding, or he could do something for the podcast, not be in time for the wedding, but have to put out money to come back just for the wedding and then return back for 1 week, right? Is it 1 week that you have to? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the podcast being important to us, a lot of that has to do with what we just said. Also, Rob wanted to hang out with his besties in Long Beach too, so I'll put some of that on Misty and Jesse as well.
That's fair. And actually, I don't even know if I told you how insane my August is going to be, but it just got even more insane. So aside from the first weekend in August, every single weekend I will be flying to the Midwest. So the weekend of August 11th is the bachelor party. So I'm flying back for that and then flying back to California to work for a week. The following week is, and very few people know this because I just figured it out. I found out yesterday. There's a brewery called Toppling Goliath who releases certain beers that are very, very rare and hard to come by. And I entered a lottery in order to be able to attend one of their releases, which was available for only 2,000 people. And I won the lottery. I was kind of hoping I wouldn't, because if I didn't win the lottery, I didn't have to plan a trip around it. So now I have to fly out to Iowa the weekend of the 19th to attend a beer release, fly back, work for a week. The following weekend is the wedding that I have to fly out for, fly back, work for a week, and then I'm done in California and I'm flying back to come back home. That's 4 continuous weeks of flying to the Midwest.
Listen, I get it for your friend's wedding, and I respect that. The beer thing, I just don't like. And I just want to explain one of the reasons. Like, you say you won a lottery. You won a lottery to have the right to pay them a lot of money to buy the beer. So you didn't win like you just get to go there and they just present you with a 12-pack of ultra rare beer or something. Because I'd be like, oh, that's really cool. No, you won a lottery to go there, and I'm just gonna assume you're gonna drop like $300 on beer, which will probably come out to enough beer for about 5 people to get drunk once.
No, so this is gonna be even more infuriating for you.
Yep.
4 12-ounce bottles, 2 glasses and a shot glass, plus 1 pour at the brewery of the beer that's being released.
What is a pour? What does that mean?
It's like the shot glass that you're filling up, like 2.5 ounces of beer. Like a pour of it. They're pouring it for me.
And can I ask what the cost is? Minus the airplane ticket and hotel room.
$100.
All right, that's not that bad though. I mean, like I thought you were going to throw out a much heftier price tag, because you get, like you said, 3 glasses, right? A shot glass and 2 glasses, so you get some commemorative glassware. You get 4 beers, and then you get whatever one. It's just weird. Like, you're all the way there. You think they'd be like, "Here's your glass," but no, you're telling me they're actually going to give you like.
Right. Well, I get the 4 bottles that I can drink later.
I
know what you mean.
Right, I gotcha. No, that's not that bad, and for something along those lines, not beer, obviously. I would probably. I don't know if I wouldn't fly. I know I wouldn't fly to Iowa for that, but yeah, I could see doing that. $100 is meh. It's $100. Like,
so it's more of the rarity, and like, so realistically, I could probably take one of those bottles and sell it and recoup my entire cost for the trip, and still have 3 left.
I strongly urge that you do that.
Oh. But anyway, so that's the thing. I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't happen, but it did. So I'd be kind of, it would be kind of dumb not to. But it's one of those things, yeah. Like, it's probably, so I've never done something that is this extreme in the beer world, and I probably never will again, because it is. I'll acknowledge that this is just ridiculous. But at the same time, it's an experience, so I can tell people, hey, I attended a Morning Delight release. There you go. So back to YouTube really quick. Comrade Chrome in the AMA has asked, hooked up with any fruit shop girls while out there, ?
I know what that means. It took me, I was going to ask, but I figured it out. Yeah.
That's an easy one. Nope. No.
Well, now you're working, and again, not to expand into this, but you're working with a very small group of people, like on a daily basis, right? This isn't like your normal thing where you have exposure to lots of people. Like, you're working in like an office environment with the same 4 or 5 people or something, right?
Yeah, the department that I'm working in probably consists of about 20 people, but I interact with maybe 6 or 7 on a regular basis. And I sit in a cubicle, and probably 70% of my day, I don't talk to anybody at all. I'm by myself. No, I mean, I've done a lot of kind of social things outside of work, and I've met a bunch of people, and I've gone out and done like, some fun stuff. But my focus out here isn't just like knocking up the whole of the California, female population. I'm more focused on things that are, life experiences that I haven't had an opportunity to do in the Midwest.
So no real offers is what you're saying.
Nothing's, it's just dry out here. I'm experiencing a drought in California that is equal to the drought that California has been experiencing for years.
So I have a question, again, kind of unrelated to you and I do a similar thing for work. We'll call it that, right? Like you're on your feet all day and you're kind of like walking around talking to people and stuff. And I know you've done office work for a long time. How are you finding sitting in a cubicle by yourself? Like better, worse? I mean, I know you have an end in mind, but let's pretend that that's not the case. Like this is your new gig. Or have you adjusted well to it, or do you miss kind of just being on your feet and talking to people?
That's a good question. So I would say that on the day-to-day, I really enjoy it because let's say in my normal job, I don't feel like I'm very intellectually challenged. And in this job, I am very highly intellectually challenged. And so the change for me has been like how I engage people, like as far as like physical activity and stuff like that. I'm offsetting the fact that I sit in a desk all day by the fact that, I'm much more active with like how I get places. Like I walk a lot more and, things like that. So I offset my sedentary work lifestyle with more activity outside of work. But I feel like on the day-to-day, it's more fulfilling because it's just more fun and it's more challenging, but like also more free. Like I could really do almost whatever I want to on a daily basis. It's pretty nice.
That's really cool because my thought, we were talking about what you're doing there and stuff, and I can't stand sitting in the office. I mean, I have those days where I'm like, all right, I need to buckle down. I've got like 3 or 4 hours. I've set it up where I don't have to really be disturbed. And those days drive me fucking crazy. Like I'm uncomfortable and I'm bored just not being able to just be up and about the whole time. Not that I don't. It's not that I enjoy what I'm doing. It's not that I hate what I'm doing when I'm doing it. Just that whole being still. Like this is the longest I've been still today. You and I got on half an hour early to try to get this thing going. This is the most I've sat all day. Yeah. And I really find that I don't like sitting. This might sound a little weird. I'm fine with standing, and I stand 8 to 10 hours a day sometimes. And then I lay down. If it's on the couch or on the recliner or in bed, I don't do a lot of the sitting.
The in-between state?
Yeah, seriously. And I'm just not super comfortable doing it. So I don't know how long it would take me to adapt to doing that, say 6, 7, 8 hours a day. But the thought is horrifying to me.
Yeah. If it were a long-term thing, there actually are... basically anybody can have a sitting/standing desk. So you can have it's like a motorized desk that like it'll adjust its height for you. And so I would definitely do a standing desk probably 60% of the time I was there. But I mean, I just kind of punctuate my day with like, there's a Starbucks two blocks away. And so I'll, when I feel like I need to get up and move around, pull out my phone, pop on the Starbucks app, and then I order the drink, and that means that I've got 4 minutes to go over and walk and pick it up and walk back. So like, as the boringest shit we've ever talked about on Booked, but like I punctuate my day with activity when I need to. But overall, like on the mental side of things, like it's such a refreshing like change of pace. So good.
I can imagine because I know what you do, and I, like I said, you and I have similar. I mean, a lot of parts of our job are very. We've talked about this, off the air and stuff. How we do very similar things, and yeah, I'm not really challenged by a lot of the conversations I have during the course of the day. Yeah. I mean, with my coworkers and stuff. I mean, I'm kind of training and developing and overseeing, and sometimes just flat out yelling at somebody that works for me. But the other part, the customer interaction, is tedious for the most part.
Sorry, still getting over a cold, so that's the first cough in quite a while. I feel good about that.
I still can't get on the YouTube on the iPad, so I'm just gonna watch it. Tucker Carlson loads just fine. I don't know if you guys can we talk about this?
Holy shit, that happened?
Oh yeah.
When was
He's
that?
not out. I don't remember. It's like in a month or something. So when that time is up, he will be released, barring unforeseen circumstance. Can I just say how relieved I am about this?
About OJ getting parole?
Yeah. Do you realize that for the last 9 years, nobody has been looking for the real killers, and now OJ can resume his search?
Hang on.
Yeah. Do you realize that for the last 9 years,
It's still
nobody
active.
has been looking on the iPad, I can't, and I'm signed in as me because I don't use the iPad for book stuff, so I don't know why I can't. Anyway,
Maybe it's because you're signed in as you. I don't know, but like, you're still.
all I'm saying, Rob, is that if OJ can get back on the path to finding Nicole Simpson's real killer, the world will be a safer place. And
Motherfucker,
really,
she was killed when I was in high school. There no like I had my 20th reunion. No one's looking into the Nicole Simpson murder. 0 people.
I know. I don't know if you realize this because you may have been a little young to pay attention to it at the time, but he vowed when he was acquitted to never stop searching for the real killer. And that's where that I'm relieved that someone will be finally looking.
Did you hear anything about how people think that he's like doing weird shit, like robbing people for memorabilia because of like concussions and shit that he got from football? Like, can someone sue the NFL? Whoa.
That was really long.
Oh shit. Yeah, that was really loud. I think you're still muted, but Comrade Chrome says OJ did a lot more time for that burglary charge than most people would have.
Yeah, I mean the thing with the memorabilia, I mean the guy was basically broke, and I think that he saw an opportunity to get back what he thinks is rightfully his, not legally maybe, but rightfully his, and he took it and got busted. But yeah, I don't. 9 years, man. I mean that was definitely. So I did hear tonight because I was listening to Fox
Wait,
News.
was it robbery? Was it armed robbery
and kidnapping?
And all right, so kidnapping. Yeah,
but the kidnapping was they grabbed somebody. It wasn't kidnapping like for ransom. That's what they call it when you hold someone against their will, which was
right.
I'm not sure what all the details were, but I think it was like the security guard at the place where the memorabilia was. Like they didn't let him leave while they stole shit.
That's kidnapping.
But I mean, but that we say kidnapping. What do we picture? Right? We picture what's that guy's name? That Irish actor. A certain set of skills that's got to get someone back.
Liam Neeson?
Yeah, Liam. Yeah, that's when we think of kidnapping, that's what we think. What was the Mel Gibson movie where he hunts? Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in theory, if you're holding up a liquor store, you're not letting the clerk leave. That could also theoretically be kidnapping if you're going to consider it in the same way it was considered in the O.J. Simpson case.
True.
Yeah, that was a little bit of payback. But so when I was listening to Fox News earlier, reputable source for news,
I heard they're fair and balanced.
He was offered a plea bargain to do 30 months, and he risked it because he thought he could get off, and wound up doing 9 fucking years.
Dude, think about his track record though. Like he got away with murder. Who wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm going to go to trial?
Okay. There's not. Legally, he was not convicted of that charge. He was financially though. What's the other one called? Not the when you don't have a criminal case, you have a civil suit.
Civil?
Yeah, civil.
He was found like liable in civil, like all right.
In civil court. Yeah.
I'm going to take a pause and we're going to go to YouTube really quick because Frank Edler says no one is looking for Nicole Simpson's murderer, ? They just confirmed one of the victims from the John Wayne Gacy murders. Is he trying to tell us that John Wayne Gacy killed Nicole Simpson? Because I don't even think that I'm
emailing OJ right now telling him that this is where he should be looking.
This is a hot fucking lead. Frank Edler just told us that John Wayne Gacy killed his wife. I think Gacy was already in prison way before Nicole Simpson was murdered, but I mean, you never know. Did you ever see The Rock? They just let Sean Connery go out and hang out in a park. That shit's got to happen all the time in prison.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that in the news today. And then the lead singer of Linkin Park killed himself.
Straight up suicide.
Now, I'm not making light of this because it's okay. anybody does that, fuck them, because like that's just, it's a super selfish thing to do. So I will say that, and I'm not ridiculing him or whatever. Obviously, I would imagine it wasn't a financial crisis because he's probably pretty well off. He obviously had some emotional issues, but I read somewhere that he was really close friends, and I may get this name wrong because I'm not a fan of either of these bands. Chris Cornell, is that right?
Yeah, Chris Cornell, yeah.
He killed himself earlier this year.
Yeah,
by the same method, hanging, right?
Yes.
That's a little weird to me, that two people who are friends, both musicians from different bands and whatever challenges they had.
Yeah,
I don't know how you know, I don't know what their lives were, what they were going with. But like I said, I know Linkin Park has a new album because the local radio station is playing the one song on repeat, apparently, like once an hour. So I know there's new Linkin Park that just came out. But you know what I thought about? That guy's got 6 fucking kids, and he's younger than I am. So his kids have to be, like, most of them have to be teenagers, I would imagine. And just what a shitty thing to do to your family.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I've always had like a really tough thoughts towards a couple of things. Addiction, alcoholism specifically, and suicide. I don't know why, but I just really take a hard edge to those, where it's like, look, you're just being a dick and you need to just, you know, not be that dick. I don't know. Like, yeah.
I only know one person who killed himself, and he was a family friend. It was somebody I when I think back, was someone I heard a lot about and stuff, but I'd only seen in person 10 times in my life, maybe. They lived in another state, and they would be like visiting. And I guess when I was a baby, they lived here. And, you know, it was a friend of my parents. My parents are godparents to that man's daughter. So that's like the family friendship kind of tie there. And I don't know. I don't know what any of these people are going through. But I do think that, you know, you leave behind. I mean, like, how do you explain that to like a 15-year-old kid? Like, your dad fucking killed himself. And then I have another question, which is going to sound like a funny question, maybe, and I don't mean it this way, but I'm going to make some assumptions that both Chris Cornell and from what I read about this guy had struggled with drugs and alcohol. From what and I'm saying, quoting, because that's what I read in an article. Man, why hang yourself if you already have access to drugs? No, I'm not trying to be funny, but isn't there a better way to go out? Like, I just took like 400 Valium, or you know, like 3 spoonfuls of heroin or whatever it is that does that to you. Why not go a better way than like tying the noose? And, you know, like that's got to be,
there's got to be some psychological reason that people choose the way that they kill themselves. Like, there's got to be some sort of, like, if it's X type of suicide, it's self-loathing. It's, you know, like those types of things. So there's got to be psychologically a reason for it.
I thought about that a little bit too, because I thought to myself, well, if I just take a lot of drugs, someone might think I overdosed, but that I accidentally overdosed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You'll just leave a fucking note that says "fuck it all," and then you do it. I mean, hanging. I mean, so I go conspiracy theory. I guess a hanging could be set up to look like a hanging or whatever, but a hanging really is telling someone, like, I did that. Like, I want to make sure everyone knows that I killed myself, like, versus like there being any doubt. Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to go to YouTube comments. Newest conspiracy theory is that Cornell was going to expose a Hollywood pedophile ring, and was killed. And that Chester was planning on helping him do it, and he was also killed. So the pedophiles are teaming up against the famous Hollywood singers.
Who is our YouTube source on this? By the way, just because I can't see this.
Comrade Chrome.
Okay.
And he then followed that up with, I want to be clear about this, I'm not endorsing that theory, just sharing it. And Frank Edler says Rick James struggled with drugs too. The super freak.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not going to say I don't know personally, you know, from my own experience, but I have been close to some people that have had some very serious issues with drugs, and I don't make light of the situation and whatever, but I have to think that you know, when you're at that level, and again, I'm not saying this, but you know, Chris Cornell probably had a house and some money and whatever, and, you know, probably access to help and stuff. Now, the people that I have in mind right now that struggled with this problem were not well off. You know what I mean? And probably went through some pretty ugly and tough shit that I don't even want to think about. So there's a little bit of a difference there. I'm afraid that, you know, what is your level of responsibility when you're an icon? And, you know, I don't extend that to say like you have to be politically correct or you have to this or you have to that. But man, you're sending out a message to people who I know how passionate I am about the music that I love. And I'm not a musically passionate guy. So I know there are people that maybe even are reading the news tonight and seeing this as almost an okay, like things are shitty. This is an okay thing to do. And that's the fucked up part about being someone who's revered by others. I mean, there's no other word for it. Worshipped almost, but by others.
So like, yeah. And I think that it has to come down to, there is a spectrum of suicide, because I can imagine situations where it totally makes sense. Like you're in constant agony because of like an illness or something like that. And you have no reasonable expectation that it's going to get better. Do it. I'll help you do it. Like that sounds like a situation.
Well, now we're talking like that Dr. Kevorkian stuff, right? And I honestly, I don't argue against that. I think if you're of sound mind and body and you are saying, I suffer so much, I don't want to suffer anymore. Like I'm behind that. Like I just don't think that's, I mean, the suffering that these guys were going through had to be, I would think, something that could be rectified, not, you know, fatal, you know, stage 4 painful cancer.
Yep.
But like
with the right kind of support, they could have turned it around.
Yeah. They're like, I'm really fucking sad about things. Like that's what I see from what I've read, and I don't know. So maybe there's other things at play that I'm not aware of. So again, I'm not belittling their situation. I don't know what they were going through. I would just think that it's a really shitty example to set for other people. Like I said, when you've got kids who think you're, you know, the cat's meow, like it's a terrible message to send. So
I mean, you just said cat's meow, but so here's the thing that we have to think of. The perspective that we don't have is like there could be people who were either failing to support those people properly or actively encouraging bad situations too. And so like, what was that, a wicked cloud? We got Comrade Chrome on. You should really impress him with the problem is you have such a white wall behind you that it gets kind of lost.
I also think on YouTube, when you're talking, and I mute myself because I know how annoying that sound can be. So I think nobody sees me when I do that. So you see it because the chat window that we're in, like I can see you in a little box, but nobody else sees you in a little box, I think. And they don't see you until you're talking. I'm also pointing a lot at the TV, which looks looks pretty cool. Like an Uncle Sam kind of, I want you kind of shit.
Can you vape really heavy, like a good, and I'll be quiet. So talk and I'll stop talking.
All right. I feel like I'm one of my favorite vape reviewers right now.
Is that what they do?
Dude, it's so funny too, because they're all like, here's the device I'm reviewing, and they open it up and then like they show you how to build it if it's like a rebuildable, and then they'll be like, all right, I've got this thing sitting at 50.8 watts. Let's take it for a vape. They'll like back up like in their chair to get like as much room. It's hilarious. And then they're like, let me give you the pros and cons. First of all, it's mod sexy as hell. This one's for you, Comrade Chrome. Do you see this bad boy? Look at this shit right here. I had mod envy for a year, Rob. A year, because I wouldn't pay what this thing cost. And then the chip that's inside of it, that's the electronics, was discontinued. And I caught a killer deal, like half off on this bad boy. And I'm just so excited. I haven't put it down in like 3 weeks. I sleep with it.
So I want to tell you from YouTube, Comrade Chrome does say rippin' mad clouds, bruh.
That's right.
And
sick as tits.
Wow. Frank Edler says, my point was kind of like Rick James did drungs. He actually wrote drungs. So Rick James did drungs as part of a party culture, and Chester Bennington was doing drugs from an escape culture.
Now that's interesting, but you have to ask yourself at what point. It's like alcoholics. I don't want to say anybody. I don't think most people like sit at home and just drink vodka until they become an alcoholic. It probably starts with like, hey Frank, let's go get a drink. And then, hey Rob, let's go get a drink. And then eventually I'm like, well, fucking these guys are busy. I'm just going to drink by myself. So I think a party culture, eventually that drug addiction probably turns into a very personal and even private at times, because when it gets out of control, I mean, most people tend to hide that stuff, right?
Yeah, and the party culture might be the beginning of the escape culture. Like, I party because this is the only time I feel alive. But then when the party's not happening, then I just drink because I associate that with. I'm not a psychology major. I'm not an addiction fucking expert. I'm not addicted to anything except for Booked because it is the best.
Can we talk about that for a second, Rob?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
AMA, Livius.
No. I know you, and you are a super highly functioning person. But there are times where I worry about every time I talk to you, you're drinking.
Yes, valid and fair. However, I will say that primarily that's because I buy alcohol faster than I can drink it.
I think too. I guess the difference is I think you're drinking what I would consider a lot, but I don't think you get drunk a lot. Like pretty much every time I drink, I get at least a little drunk because it's not that often. So, but I think you drink and don't get drunk very often versus me.
Yeah.
If you had on a scale, I'm like 90% of the time I'm drinking, I get kind of drunk, but it's infrequent. So.
Yeah.
Or you have a tolerance now because of how many thousands of gallons of liquor you've had. And,
I do have a tolerance. I definitely have a tolerance.
I'm a zero tolerance policy kind of guy over here. No tolerance.
Wow. And I'm the guy that's anyway. All right. Moving along. We don't have anything in the YouTube comments. So did we have any topics otherwise that we look at that ripping mad clouds bra?
No, we didn't. And I didn't think we could pull off 90 minutes with me talking about Edgar Cantero. Can I tell you some of the things we talked about doing? Like, this is a good time to revisit some of the things we've said if we were going to do on Booked and didn't, or talked about potentially doing. From October 2015, I have these tidbits. So this is like a time travel thing for you. We were going to get a medium and have a seance so we could interview Richard Lehman on the podcast.
Sounds familiar.
That did not happen. We were going to interview Edgar Cantero, but English is a third language for him. So we talked about maybe doing a written thing, which we knew wasn't really going to happen because we are not a written word kind of people. But then we talked about hiring a translator for an interview. We didn't do that. Pychos. Not from October 2015, but Pychos, which really was going to be the product that we did this podcast to hawk, a la Alex Jones and all kinds of supplements, or Dr. Jacoby on Twin Peaks and Gold Shovels. 100 Happy Days, where we review 100 episodes of the TV show Happy Days.
I gave up that domain.
Can I tell you that if you still look, Rob and I share a box.net account, and that's how like he gets me audio for the View, or like I'll like if someone sends a book to me, I'll send it to him via the Dropbox or the box.net, which is very similar to Dropbox, but we have like weird unlimited space or something to use. There's still 3 episodes of Happy Days that I ripped and put in there for you in the event that we ever got that going. I almost deleted them the other day, but I was like, I just like seeing them there as a reminder.
Yep. Frank Edler says Livazon.
Livazon, although we are not drone delivering anything, Livazon.com is currently in use and getting about 28 views a week for the View podcast, because that's the one domain that Rob still owns that we can talk about publicly, because I know Rob owns some other ones we don't talk about.
We will never. Well, I can't say never.
How many domains do you currently own? Do you know?
I let like 3 lapse just recently. So we have bookedpodcast.com, we have livazon.com,
and that's all we can talk about.
We have a domain that's redacted.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Edler also says Drunk Liv needs to make a Booked appearance soon. He's obsessed. I'm starting to think that regular Livius is not enough for him.
It's not just him though. The people have been around me when I'm drunk, and this is definitely not me patting myself on the shoulder or anything. People really like me when I'm drinking, which leads me to believe like that they don't really like me when I'm not drinking, if that makes sense. Because it's like, you should drink, and I'm like, am I not just okay having a LaCroix karate? That is apple and raspberries, I think. Apple cranberry.
Yeah, cranberry.
Yeah,
Apple
cranberry. But most people that have been around me when I was drinking strongly encouraged me to drink. So I don't know if it's just because they want to make fun of me after I've lost like my sense. I mean, let's face it, I'm not that sensical most of the time anyway. But when I've really gone off, like I have no borders, that people tend to like that.
So I could float the theory that if you want to do a compare and contrast, no one ever asks me to drink. And maybe it's just because like it's so rare that you do, and it's so common that I do.
Let's say no one has to ask you because you're already doing it.
Yeah, they're like, Rob, can you just put that down? Comrade Chrome says everyone but Jesse because Liv decides to play the IRL troll.
All right, let me address this. I have not once said any aliens. Also, I'm doing the aliens thing. Aliens. Just got a reflector. Comrade Chrome, everything I said to Jesse that night are things I honestly believe. It's not me really trolling. Like I have a lot of opinions, and I decide not to share them online at all because there's just no. It's a whole long thing. There's no winning when you're arguing with certain people. It doesn't matter how right you are. It doesn't matter what evidence you bring. So I just choose not to do it. I do have these debates, and Rob will tell you there's plenty of times right before we record an episode of Booked where Rob's just like shaking his head at the things I'm saying. But I believe, like, it's what I believe. So the things that you may have heard me say to Jesse are things I believe. Now, I don't dislike Jesse one bit for having a differing opinion. I like having good, solid debates with people that, you know, don't want to throw a beer bottle at my head because my opinion differs from theirs. So if you want to know a troll, though, I'll tell you, Edler, I sent him a message the other day. Probably the first message I sent him in a long time where I said, nice job trolling, buddy. He put some people up in arms over just and I know he did. He made a comment just to make the comment, just to see what kind of ire it would draw, and he was successful. So congratulations, my friend. Nice job.
And I think that wanders into a territory where, like, I'm going to go ahead and admit right now that in the last, what year is it, 2007?
2017?
17? I meant that. There's a one. It was in my mind. In the last almost decade, I have allowed myself to become so removed from what's actually happening in the world because it's just so painful to experience. So first of all, I'm very liberal. And so like the entire Obama administration was just like great for me. I loved it. And now that that's done, I am even more willfully ignorant about what's going on because I just don't want to spend the energy. And I've come to the point in my life where I realize that like I have a finite amount of energy to spend on any given thing. And I get it. It's great to be informed about shit, but I have more important things to think about than like every little detail of politics. So now I'm going on general impressions about like, hey, this person's a fascist asshole. You know, and it's a general impression. So now I'm at a point in my life, and what this is getting at is that Livius is far better informed than I am about politics and current events, and we disagree a lot. And
a lot. And
I can't defend my point because I'm not well informed about what's going on. And so I'm the guy that I hated 10 years ago in conversations. And I'm making that admission right now because it's important to know, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know well enough to argue it one way or another. I know I feel like, hey, these things are shitty, but like, it's just impressions. And so we're at this point where like, I have to decide, hey, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about, because that's the rational thing to do until I choose to learn more about the topics of what's going on.
And I respect that about you so much. And this isn't just because you don't put up much of an argument or whatever bullshit that is. Because I think at one point I really felt, and this is before we were doing the podcast, Rob was nearing like activist status. And I'm not saying that to be funny. Rob was super involved with a lot of things that I don't even want to say I disagreed with. There's a lot of things I just didn't care about at all. And yeah, I would have been the guy who didn't really know enough about what he was involved in to really debate, argue, or have a conversation. and this is kind of flipped a little bit, and not because I'm active in politics or whatever, but I've been following what's going on, and I have opinions, and they're not always the most popular opinions, especially around the people I surround myself with, who, like I said, like I love Jesse, like I love Rob. I'm not going to let their difference of opinion on healthcare or taxation or whatever influence how I feel about them, and I encourage a discussion, even if it's a lively one. I'm not going to lose a friend over it. I hope, and not from my end. There's nothing that Rob could say politically or Jesse could say politically that's going to make me say, hey, fuck that guy. I'm not talking to him anymore. That being said, I respect that Rob at least knows not to make comments about things that he's uninformed about. And I wish that more people would take that tact. I love debating with somebody who knows what they're talking about. But I think Rob could even admit that some people who maybe are more on his side of the fence about things sometimes have no fucking clue what they're talking about. And they're just reiterating something they heard somewhere, but they have no real basis to defend an argument. And that's really the thing that frustrates me, is I have no problem talking to someone. And like I said, even if it's politics, if someone knows more about it, I feel like I could learn. It doesn't matter what side of the fence they're on. So take that for what it's worth.
And probably the best punctuation to this like rational discourse is Comrade Chrome says that in all caps, they're all interdimensional lizard people controlling the world through fluoride, even Obama.
Now, Comrade Chrome there clearly watches Alex Jones, and I respect you for that, because that's where I get most of my news.
Horror. Absolute horror. Like, Livius, you made me watch something one time, and we talked about this on the podcast, so I won't like restate my point, but like there's something wrong with his brain. Like I've been rewatching like the first season of Fringe, or maybe it was season 2, whatever, earlier Fringe episodes, and there's like that part in the story. You've watched the whole thing.
Yes, I have.
There's the part in the storyline where like they realize that Walter had parts of his brain removed, and that's why he acts the way he does, is because there's like actual parts of his brain missing. And I feel like that's what's going on with Alex Jones, is like someone cut out the parts of his brain that require like rationality and coherence.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I will say that what I sent you, I mean, the guy does like 6-7 hours a day, and I sent you like a 3-minute clip that someone had collected over a period of years. So really, you saw the worst of the worst. And quite honestly, if you're going to look at somebody who does even just like a newscaster, it does like an hour or 2 a night, and you pull out like the dumbest things they've said, you know, you could make a pretty compelling clip. You could do it with this podcast for sure. You could pull out a compelling 4-minute clip of at least one of us saying really weird, crazy things. So, but yeah, I mean, you know what? I guess I do want to say that when I say that I listen to news, I don't consider Alex Jones news. I will watch his show occasionally. I really try really hard to get a fair and balanced amount of news, which really, and as much as this sucks, that means like 60% Fox News, maybe 40% CNN, which means I'm really just getting the extremes, and I'm not getting anything that's moderate and just factual information. It's always opinionly slanted. But yeah, that's where I'm at. If you guys ever want to hear kind of borderline crazy, Sirius XM has a station called The Patriot, which is essentially Breitbart News on the radio. I will say that they're a little out there on the right side, obviously, but man, they've got some really intelligent people. And that's the problem, is if someone's really articulate and can defend an argument, it's really easy to go down that rabbit hole without hearing an opposing view. So that's why it's important, I think, not just to watch CNBC or CNN, but to get the other side just to balance you out a little bit.
I have a little technical thing going on where my I let my iPad run out of battery, so I don't have the chat up, and so I'm trying to get the chat back while we chat. But I did see Comrade Chrome at one point did say "ha ha ha." I think it was about what we were talking about. So
well, at least he didn't say "fuck you, fascist."
He's probably thinking
and throw a brick through my window. So
he's thinking it at least.
Yeah, it's okay.
You know.
I will pull it up on the YouTubes until you can get that going. Yep, that's the last thing we saw was the ha 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 from Comrade Chrome.
I don't know why it was working just fine before, and now I'm in the same app. There's 9 watching, according to YouTube. 9 people.
Well, I'm
showed
one
up
of
for
them
this.
now because I opened it in a different window, and you're one because you have it open. So yeah, there's this. Yeah.
7 people.
Yeah, that's well, when you're live, there is a way to just scroll through live YouTube feeds. So this could be just people that are like, man, this is like a really serious political podcast. That they do.
Yeah.
So
Not a bunch
just
of, like-
totally not.
So-
We're down to 8. Hey, listen, in case you're one of those people scrolling through, I just want you to know that we reviewed a book called Backdooring the Brat last year, and you should go listen to that review.
Yeah, we did. And I'll tell you, it was not good.
Our review was fantastic. The
Oh,
book
I'm
itself
sorry.
wasn't. Yeah, that's
I didn't mean to
podcast is
mislead
worth
anybody. Podcast, yes, absolutely. Now, but it has had a serious effect on my Amazon what you might want to read list. Looking at Amazon is a goddamn horror show for me.
Frank Edler is still with us, and I'm gonna. You're asking the wrong people, Frank, because watch what's gonna happen. Rob, Frank needs some road trip music for his trip down to Scares That Care convention tomorrow. Can he get a quick booked road trip playlist? So, Rob, what are the last 3 things you listened to?
Oh, let's see. Well, I can tell you right now, when I was working earlier today, I was listening to the Daft Punk album Homework from 1997. Do you want to know what's do you know it's queued up on my music right now? Let's see if you can guess it from the sound first before I actually play it for you. Any guesses?
Not something that I would ever listen to. Say something.
It's It's Let Me Blow Ya Mind by Eve. That's from a
Is that a woman?
Yeah, it's a woman. I think it's from my my favorites playlist on Apple Music. Right there, my favorites. And it's got such good stuff as Eminem's Lose It, that song I just showed you. There is a 50 Cent song on there, Dr. Dre. Wow, there's a Kanye West song on there. So yeah, if any of this sounds good, Mr. Edler.
Frank seems to. He says that he knows that. I'm guessing it's the Eve song, and then he says yes with 1, 2, 4, or 5 exclamation points. The source, Hip Hop Hits Volume 5. Frank, I've lost so much respect for you. Comrade Chrome wants to know if you ever got around listening to Kendrick.
That is a big no. Wait, I think I downloaded one of those albums, though. Hang on.
While Rob is checking, I'll give you very honestly the last 3 things I listened to on Google Play Music. The Prince Purple Rain Special Edition was released on there earlier this week, so I've been listening to the whole thing, not the live stuff, but the unreleased tracks as far and the like digitally remastered Purple Rain. I listened to Punk Goes Pop, which also hit this week, volume 7, I think, which is just punk bands covering popular pop songs, and I know most of them because they play on the Muzak or whatever at work. And that, if I'm trying to think, because I want to say what the thing I think is, but I don't want to say it like fakely. I said the last 3 things. I'm pretty sure the other thing I listened to was the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack, which I listen to frequently. So I'm pretty sure that's the last 3 things I've listened to.
I will say also that I've been building a playlist that I'm calling It Follows, and it's based on a conversation I started on Facebook where I was talking about songs that you can't listen to without hearing the song that comes after it. And so far, it's got such combinations as the Korn songs Adidas and Lowrider, Pearl Jam's Go, followed by Animal, Green Day's Chump, followed by Longview, the Cars song Moving in Stereo, followed by All Mixed Up, Led Zeppelin's Livin' Lovin' Made, followed by Ramble On, Fugazi, did I say that right?
You did.
Do You Like Me, followed by Bed for the Scraping, Prince's I Would Die For You, followed by Baby I'm a Star, the Afghan Wigs Bulletproof, followed by Summer's Kiss, followed by Faded, and then Elastica's Stutter, followed by Never Here. And I haven't finished the playlist because there was a couple of Def Leppard song combinations that are not available through Apple Music, which is where I'm getting my music. So that kind of threw me off.
Frank Edler said area codes with an exclamation point, and I'm guessing that's directed at you, maybe, because I don't know what that means.
Area codes? No idea.
Okay. That sounds like a rap term, because I know that urban type people now are very big into referring to themselves by the area code that they live in.
Maybe that's maybe Edler's more hip hop than I am. Are you hearing an alarm?
Yes, on your end. Yes.
So let me tell you a story. I live in this apartment complex, and hose in different area codes is what Comrade Chrome has to say about area codes. I currently have hose in exactly like one kind of cluster of area codes. I have no hose in any California area codes, which is definitely a problem. But so this alarm you're hearing, this like kind of noise, first of all, brings me back to our early days of podcasting when I was in Vermont, and I said the robots were taking over. There's the alarm. The fire alarm was going off in my building, and I had to go leave the building. So what's going on is...
What was that guy's name we were interviewing when that happened? Sorry.
Chris Dwyer.
Was it Dwyer?
It was Dwyer.
Okay, I thought it was the Australian dude that dropped off the face of the earth.
Rob Smith? No, that never happened.
No, not Rob Smith.
Oh, Max Berry?
No, god damn it. He was part of the Velvet.
Oh, Doc O'Donnell.
Doc O'Donnell. That's what I was thinking of.
That was a weird process of elimination. So in the time that I've been living here, since the beginning of May, everything's been just like great, very smooth, no worries, no problems, except for about 2 weeks ago. It was fucking 4 a.m, and this just astonishingly loud fire alarm was going off in my apartment, and it freaked me out. And I was like trying to not.
I was trying to go back to sleep while a fire alarm was going off in my apartment. It was really tough to do. Yeah, not
good. So I eventually go outside, and the fire department came, and it was like 45 minutes at like 4 a.m. of just standing outside waiting to go back into my apartment because I know there was no fire, and it was awful. And I moved on with my life, and fucking last night, 3:30 a.m, the exact same thing happens. A fire alarm goes off in my building, and I have to go outside and wait for the fire department to show up to let us back into the building. And now a different building in this goddamn complex has got that fire alarm going off right now.
Bro, you got someone vaping into the fire alarms.
You think that's what it is? If it's vaping in the fire alarms, I'm going to be so angry.
I know this has happened to a lot of people in hotel rooms, and it happened to me very, very, very recently. In that there was some remodeling happening, and the fire alarm got taken off the wall and got set on a ledge. And I didn't even realize. Now, this is not connected to the fire department. It's like the home battery fire alarm things. And just one of those sick clouds I was blowing, I'm like, why is there a fire alarm going off? And I'm all freaked out. And someone says, I think you just blew vape right into that fire alarm, and pointed to right by my hand. And I was like, oh yeah, I totally and so I think someone's vaping into your fire alarms at 4 a.m. Not yours personally, but in your building somewhere.
I can't tell you how fucking annoying that is. Frank did say that he's got hose in different area codes, and it's from Ludacris, who also fills cups like double D's. I will tell you that much from that.
Yeah, the extent of my rap appreciation, we'll call it. I'm so
excited for this.
Is I had this conversation with someone at work just yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. Early, and I should say all, because there is no current NWA, so I'll say all NWA. Eazy-E, and it goes back before that to when you were goddamn probably almost in diapers. But Nucleus, the Sugar Hill Gang. Are you familiar with that? I mean, Sugar Hill Gang, everyone, but are you familiar with Nucleus? Like,
never heard of Nucleus. No. Oh, okay, I've heard that song.
We're talking about like the Roxanne days.
Hold on, I'm gonna go. I have an idea. Mm-hmm. Keep talking, but I'm gonna.
No, but that's it. Like, I don't. I thought the first Snoop Dre album, and even Dre, like Doggy Style, I like that. But since then, there's been nothing in the rap world for me. So that's putting me at 1994, maybe.
Wow. Yeah, dude, I searched for there's a best of rap songs 80s Volume 1. So we'll see if this is kind of like your alley.
Okay.
Run DMC's Walk This Way.
I know
Which
it,
is
but
a
I'm not
cover
a
of
huge fan.
Aerosmith.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I was big time into Run DMC in the 80s as much as I could be. Oh my God, Run DMC is the shit. Fight for Your Rights, BC Boys. I'm Bad by LL Cool J.
Yeah, nothing so far. I mean, nothing that's really.
All right, I'll just call out artists Eric B. and Rakim. Audio 2, MC Light. Boogie Down Productions, Special Ed, Slick Rick, NWA.
All right, Slick Rick.
Children's Story.
I don't even know what that is.
De La Soul, Public Enemy. No, The 2 Live Crew. Me So Horny. We've talked about this. I know we've talked about this.
I know. Yeah, nothing. I mean, no.
Salt and Pepper.
Some of their stuff was okay, but I don't even consider them rap. I know there's
Curtis
like
Blow?
some rap.
No, nothing. All right. Well,
No.
All right. You didn't even like the popular rap of the 80s.
No, I didn't. And like I said, I liked early rap when it was still, I don't want to say like underground, but I think really when it blew up, it just wasn't for me at that point. Liv had love for the Rapping Duke. Yes, absolutely. The Rapping Duke, I somehow, and I don't know how, stumbled across the YouTube. It wasn't even a video. It was like a lyric video that had just pictures of John Wayne. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You know the Rapping Duke, Rob?
No.
Rob, would you kindly pull up the Rapping Duke and just play the first couple lines, please?
Hold on. The Rapping Duke. Is it going to be like, do I have to go to YouTube for this?
Probably. No, you might get it on Apple Music. Comrade Chrome says Eric B. and Rakim is the shit. Rakim changed the flow in rapping forever.
Rapping Duke and Friends?
Maybe that's who I have to blame then for not liking it if he's the one that changed the flow.
Would it be Rapping Duke and Friends?
No, I don't think so.
All right, we're going to go to YouTube. Oh, all the emergency vehicles are showing up now.
Do you need to evacuate? I mean, I'd prefer you not.
No, there's a bunch of...
We're going on the 2-hour mark here.
Rapping Duke. Here we go. This has got to be it.
That's it.
This is just going to be me looking at the screen because it's my music on the next one.
Hold on, or it's going to be me doing this.
So you think you're bad with your rap? Well, I'll tell you, Pilgrim, I started the crap. When you were in diapers and wetting the sheets, I was at the Ponderosa rapping to the beat. Sure, I rustled some cattle and tended the sheep, but my
and Comrade Chrome does say, and that's true. Eric B. and Rakim were before NWA. So,
wow.
Yeah, most of the other rap I liked was Paperboy, the Diddy. Anything, Rob? You got nothing on the Diddy?
Nope. I mean, you have to maybe indoctrinate me into your weirdo rap.
Oh, I think a lot of it is there's a little age difference between us, and it's just enough that if it was popular when I was like in those teen years where you're really serious about your music, like you just probably weren't into music. So.
Yeah. Well, I had a cousin who was like 10 or 11 years older than me who would kind of funnel some music down to me. And so some stuff I probably got exposed to that I usually wouldn't have. I guess the biggest example would have been like having access to the 2 Live Crew album that got banned and everything. Yep. It just came up in our other fucking episode recently. But then also like he really tried so hard to make me like a hair metal guy.
That's the right thing. All my older influences were like, you gotta listen to like Rush, and I fucking hate Rush. So I had to develop my own taste because, like I said, I was a little younger, and by a little I mean like 1 to 3 years younger than most of the people I hung out with, and yeah, that's they were all into classic rock. They were into stuff like their older siblings were into. And I kind of had to, I think, find my own way into music, which is why I have such eclectic taste, I think, is that I didn't really take anybody's lead. So that's why I think, like, Gangnam Style is fucking brilliant. But I also love, like, the Alkaline Trio or Motley Crue or The Exploited for, like, old school kind of, like, thrashy punk or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I kind of had So my parents listened to lots of classic rock, and I feel like that's where I got that influence from, because it was just played enough that it took me in that direction.
Would you take a guess at what my parents were listening to and what I don't listen to at all?
Oh my God. If you're telling me it's like those, what's the, in Europe, they have that competition, the music competition every year.
I wish they listened to stuff
Eurovision
like
or whatever.
They still to this day love like classic Romanian, which I'm going to try
folk
to find
music.
Pretty much
Like the classic, like your folk dancing, kind of like music you would find in the 1400s kind of shit.
I wouldn't say that, but
love it.
Hold on, I want you guys to see. This is what I would have grown up on.
Yeah.
Now, I swear to God, if you walk in on my mom on any given Sunday afternoon and she's listening to music, it sounds just like that. And I randomly just pulled up like old Romanian music on YouTube or whatever, and that's yeah.
They're gonna like be dancing in a circle, like hands, like when that type of music plays, everybody just kind of like.
My dad can't walk, motherfucker. That shit ain't funny.
I mean, in spirit,
I'm kidding. No, there was no dancing, but like, and they didn't. They're not really. It's weird. I think, and like I said, I don't consider myself somebody who's really into music, but they were even less into music than that. So, I mean, if there was music playing, it sounded like that, but it was infrequent.
Did you see Comrade Chrome's comments?
Let's see.
Fucking jippos.
Yeah.
Like if you want to talk about the most like insulting thing you can say to someone.
I know. Now, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. It's fucking serious, man. When you get like Romanian people and you start talking about fucking gypsies, if you want to talk about some straight up like racist, I don't even know if it's racist because I'm not even sure gypsies are a race. And I'm not saying that to be funny. Like, I don't know. I think that really indicates a type of person, the travelers.
It's more of a cultural thing than a genetic thing.
I mean, everywhere in Europe, they're fucking hated. And Romania got a bad rap because there were so many Romanian gypsies that Romanians are hated throughout parts of Europe because of that association. Oh God, fuck my parents and gypsies. It's not pretty when the subject comes up. I mean, it's straight up like if there was a white sheet that you could wear when talking about gypsies, they'd have the outfit.
Hey, now I have a question for you, and this is me 100% not knowing the answer to this, but in my limited travels in Eastern Europe and just talking to people from Eastern Europe in general and talking about the idea of gypsies and how it's like essentially like a pejorative term now, the the more acceptable term that I've been told is Roma. And does Roma have anything to do with Romania, or is it a coincidence? Or
yeah, I don't know where that term comes from. I've never heard it uttered by someone from Romania.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure if that was just gypsies trying to put a different, like rebranding. Because I know there are like TV shows that follow like Roma families, and I don't know if that's any different. I don't believe that's any different than gypsies. I honestly think it was kind of. I like the term. I just love rebranding. Can I tell you my one interaction with a gypsy? And this straight up happened in Eastern Europe, in Romania, when I was 15.
I will follow with mine.
I was in the city of Timișoara, which is I think the biggest city in Romania. If not, it's the second biggest city next to Bucharest. But that's the closest city to where my grandparents lived, in a village. And a girl that I would say dating, like we were like I was 15, she was like 16 or 17. We were like hand holding and like, a little kiss here and there. Me, her, and another guy went to Timișoara. We got an hour train ride to go there because that to them was a big deal. Now, understand the Timișoara was maybe like as big a deal as going like Schaumburg if you're from the Chicago area, right? So we're there and we're hanging out and we're walking through a park and maybe we stopped for something, but a woman came up to us who was very clearly a gypsy. I mean, like the headdress, like everything. Like she was like who you would pay to cast a curse on somebody in a movie.
And she's like thinner.
Yeah. She was trying to sell us gold wedding bands. that she was swearing to us for gold, and she was doing weird tests like rubbing it. If you rub it on your skin real hard because it's gold, your skin doesn't turn gray. I don't know, something. At one point, she was so serious about selling them that she said she needed milk for her baby, and she whipped out one of her breasts and squeezed the nipple to show that there was barely any milk coming out.
Oh, fuck, you got me beat.
I'm telling you, man, it's like one of those experiences that you never, ever forget. She just was like, see, nothing, almost nothing. You'd see like a little dribble, so you knew like she was being serious about like there being some milk there. But yeah, that was kind of weird. Needless to say, I am the proud owner of 2 gold. I'm not. No, I didn't.
I was going to say, did you? Yeah.
No, I did not. Are you kidding? No, absolutely.
So,
but that was my one like live action interaction, like me standing a foot away from a legitimate gypsy who was trying to sell me some gold.
No interactions with like the kids, because the kids, like children.
Not that I remember. That stood out to me. Obviously, it stood out because I was 15 and I saw someone's boob because, you know, that was a big deal to me. But it was such a weird thing that, yes, there may have been children, but it might have been hard to tell, like, just Romanian children from gypsy children at that point.
I want to say that Comrade Chrome did make the comment that I heard the Gypsy Tits are playing Coachella next year, which is pretty much the funniest thing I've ever heard of in my life. When I was in Macedonia, I had a in-person interaction with Roma children in 2 different occasions. So I was in the capital city of Skopje in Macedonia. And
do you want me to throw a little ethnic spin on that? Skopje.
That's exactly how you would say it. Yeah, thank you. It's obvious I'm so American. So I was warned ahead of time. I was prepped. I was like, hey, you're gonna encounter these types of people, and they're gonna try and, you know. And I was told the horror stories of, like, you know, someone went in and they got their paycheck and they walked out of the bank, and there was like hit with a swarm of these, like, you know, kids who were seeming all pathetic and stuff, but they were distracted talking to one kid while the other kid walked away with their money, like that type of stuff. Like, I was really prepared for the situation, but like, then you just have these like
Oliver Twist shit right there.
Seriously, like then I think that's one of the tactics is like they play on your heartstrings and they try to seem pathetic and helpless and, you know, needy in order to like play on your sympathies, but then at the same time they're robbing you. And so I was in the capital city,
Skopje.
Just wanted to give you a little bit of time there. And at like a food stand, I can't remember. It was like, what you know, like food stand, we're just buying food. And this little kid just kind of wanders up to me and he's like got these mopey eyes and he's just like, he's got his hand out and he looks so like pathetic. And I ignored him at first, but he wouldn't go away. And so I was told a Macedonian term to say to people to have them leave. And I don't remember the translation, but it was big eye. And it was supposed to be like, get out of here or whatever, like some sort of like a little bit more of a severe term. And so
like what a local would say to them to
right.
Yeah.
Because like I obviously was of this big fat American tourist. And so I was like an easy mark or whatever. And so like there was like this buildup of this kid just wouldn't leave me alone. And I was trying to be nice and it didn't work. So finally I was just like, big eye. And like the kid just walked away. And I was like, this is goddamn magic. It's amazing.
That's what you used. You used some kind of witchcraft to make the little gypsy kid go away.
Kid was not wearing any purple, so I could have cast a spell.
That's the whole thing. If they would just do that. Let's see. What about the fake armful of scarves? I'm not sure what that is, Frank. And yeah, no, my dad has legs. Frank may be remembering. Did I ever tell you this? I think we talked about this on the podcast. That was like the fun joke to play on like some chick at a party when we were like 16. I feel like we talked about this on the podcast. So the prank was, and I don't even know why we did this. And I don't know why I did this because I'm really a much nicer guy than this. But I'd go up to some girl and I'd be like, hey, listen, go ask Rob what size shoe his dad wears. And so, you know, they'd be like, what? That's weird. I'll be like, no, he'll totally get a kick out of it. You should just go do it. So they'd come up to you and they'd be like, hey, like what size shoe does your dad wear? And then you would be in on it and you would go really serious, kind of like I did. And you'd be like, my dad has no legs. And then that would send some girl into a fucking like panic, like crying, apologizing, whatever. So I'm not really sure. This is what I tell people when they come in and they so they all think they have a virus, and maybe maybe Comrade Chrome can understand this because I know kind of the line of work they use, and they always have a virus. And I say, look, really a virus is typically a very targeted kind of thing. Like what I try to explain to layman, I know this isn't 100% true, so I don't want people to say like I don't know what I'm talking about. But a virus is kind of like the equivalent of throwing like that bag of shit that's on fire on someone's doorstep. Like that's a targeted attack at you. Really, what you have is malware, and malware is, you know, designed to do things. There's always some benefit to the person who infects you with the malware, or I mean, the person who created it. It's not they infect you specifically, but you pick it up, whatever, online. And that's to farm for your information or your passwords or your credit card numbers or something. And I go back to, I don't know, like I say, there's always some type of gain to be had from this kind of stuff. And I think back to playing this prank, and there was no gain. There was no like this girl's gonna put out because she feels bad. It was whatever. It was just like a mean, shitty
like
thing to do.
She's hot for dudes who have dads with no legs.
Yeah, and I keep trying to think like I can't picture why I thought, and it wasn't just me. I didn't even invent this. Like it was some I don't know who invented it, but it's something a friend of mine came up with. But we did it frequently. If you were new to like the party, if you were the new girl at the party, this was happening to you. And it wasn't even set up. It's just like somebody would be like, oh shit, you know what she probably hasn't heard before? They'd be like, go ask Livius what size shoe his dad wears. It didn't have to be. If someone asked me that, my answer was always for my face to go stone cold and say my dad has no legs. So there you go.
That's a typical. I mean, I'm not going to say that every teenager did that, but they did that. Like, just maybe not exactly that. Like,
yeah. I didn't know. Like, I knew our group did it. I'm sure it came from somewhere. I'm sure nobody in our group was clever enough to invent it, so it was picked up from somewhere else. But I don't know how widespread that was.
The gypsy tits are playing Coachella, Livius.
All I know is that I don't think this is on camera, but I've got like it's really hot in this room, so I'm starting to get a little sweaty. And I just totally did like an Andrew Dice Clay move with my mod.
Wait, what was the move?
Hold on. It was kind of like I was trying to like get my shirt to like not stick to my armpit, so it was kind of like and I was gonna vape, but I realized how bad that looked, and I was like, I'm just gonna put it down. Look, I'm doing like a behind the head.
Can you do the behind the head vape?
Not anymore, man. I'm telling you, I think I've told you, right? I think I have like a herniated disc. Like I have like ridiculous like arm fucking weird shit going on. So no, I don't do anything athletic at all anymore.
Shit, that's considered athletic. We are in trouble. Comrade Chrome says, I think it's hilarious. I don't know exactly what's hilarious. Oh, probably the no legs thing, I'm guessing. And then also says, yeah, behind the head vape.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, man. It's not going to happen.
I mean, close enough.
All right, Rob, we're down to, I think, 4 viewers because I'm one of them in the other window and you're one. So maybe 3 viewers. I think we're a little over the 2-hour mark. How much longer do you want to go?
I'm done.
You're done. All right.
I got to go get fucking dinner, man. I have
hungry. To go to bed. I have to be up in a few hours to go to work. So because you're listening to this on podcast, we're going to give you like a genuine outro. Thanks for listening to Booked Live. What would be more fun for you as a listener is to be a viewer and to tune in next time on YouTube when we do this, when you can again ask Rob anything. I think that's going to be part of all the Booked Lives because that went over so well tonight. Rob, anything before we sign off?
No. I got
all
nothing.
Right. Rob's like, I haven't eaten since this morning. I'm done.
I'm overcoming a cold.
Rob, I hope you feel better.
I'm a little bitch about it.
If you were here, I would rub Vicks Vapor Rub on your back so that you would feel better.
On my back though.
Where do you do it? I don't know. That's just weird. It's like old people do that. I'm not Vicks Vapor Rub old yet.
Yeah, I guess not. So I will say thank you to the people that did contribute and talk to us. Frank Edler. Listen to Bazong because he has abandoned his other podcast.
Hey, hold on a second. That motherfucker never responded about being on Book, did he? Like you had asked very publicly.
Ooh, yeah, you're right. He did not. Wait, I mean, we can go back through the comments, but I'm not going to. But you're right. I don't think he did, that asshole. And by the with the delay and everything, we're going to be done with this. He skates, or do you want to just kind of like awkwardly stare at each other while we wait for the feed to catch up?
I love awkwardly staring at you, Rob. So we could totally do that. I could also catch up on my Instagram page while we're doing this because you wouldn't know the difference. You're just staring at the screen. yeah, so no, seriously, thanks guys for participating. This has been a lot of fun. I don't know why. I guess Rob and I could do this anytime, but it seems like there's more fun if there's like one other person like just watching.
Adler said, yeah, that's my deal with everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say that might speak volume. But
Adler says what? So does he not realize that we said, hey, we need no, because I challenged him. I said maybe he was like took a bathroom break or something. Should I restate the
yes, you should restate the challenge, I guess, or the invitation. I'd call it an invitation, but if you want to be confrontational about it, it can be a challenge.
Well, so essentially what happened was we talked about it's a lazy summer of podcasting since we're not reviewing books. We're going to be blowing some serious vape clouds and trying to figure out things to do on the podcast. And I was talking about how we could invite Frank, and then it became, why the hell hasn't Frank approached us with the idea? And then I was like, you asshole. But I think the overall idea is if you want to do an episode with us, you should let us know.
You can let us know right now. We'll wait.
We're going to wait. Livius is going to vape. I'm going
to try to get us towards the end of this for people who are listening on the audio stream. So I think Rob and I are going to do this at least one or two more times this summer during the lazy summer of podcasting. I have a lot of fun doing this. I don't know why we don't do it more often. So please, like I said, subscribe to the channel, not because we're going to get so many subscribers, we're going to monetize this. Like seriously, let's get like 30 views and we're going to be ecstatic about it. Our heart is always in book to the audio, so that will never, ever go away, and it'll always be our main focus. God, earlier I was like pouring out like Neil Smith, it's the reason I love this podcast. And that's going back to like episode 12.
Thanks, Gallo Brothers.
This episode brought to you by the Gallo family, Sweet Peach Wine. But yeah, next week we'll be back to a more standard interlude. Who knows if Frank Edler gets back to us? Maybe it'll be Frank Edler. Frank Edler.
Bezooked. That's not an answer. So he knows. He's dodging this.
I think I'm going to call that a confirmation that he wants to do this thing. So maybe Frank Edler. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk more shit about Edgar Cantero as I get further into his book and find out that there's a Romanian character in there, a devilishly handsome Romanian character who's the villain. But anyway, we appreciate you guys being here tonight. We appreciate you listening on the stream. And until next time, I'm Livius Nedden.
And I'm Rob Olson. Keep reading.